Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and welcome to probably the last real build of Delirium League, and it's going to be a bit of a longer video since it will be just the one video. The character's already wrapped up and the entire thing is ready to go. It is Elemental Hit Berserker, melee style. So melee Elemental Hit is something I've wanted to do for quite a while, but honestly, every time I've thought about it or looked at the path of building or planned it out a bit, it looked like shit. So this is an actual, just crucial and extremely apparent example of sometimes you just got to get in there and do it. Like, you might plan some stuff out and it doesn't work out and you're never happy with it. Sometimes you have to actually just build a character and then see where it takes you and fine-tune it as you go. What I wanted to do was Elemental Hit with all three elements, which is kind of hard to tell in this video, but we are using all three elements. We don't have combat focuses to cancel out any sort of fire, lightning, or cold. It is all three, and we are using Elemental Equilibrium. It is a Berserker, so it's got lots and lots of attack speed, good rage stacking for triple rage action. Berserk often quite used for endgame sort of defensiveness, and overall it's probably the thickest DPS I've had this league. It is definitely the thickest DPS I've had this league, but as far as actual single target DPS, potentially the last league's Berserker may have competed, whereas for this league it's definitely this character. I'm pulling anywhere from 10 to 15 million DPS depending on what is actually happening, because I'll go over it in just a second when I'm showing you the entire character, but we do use Secrets of Suffering so that I don't shock, chill, or ignite. I'm trying to get that through other sources. Instead, I also do Brittle, Sap, and fuck, I can't remember the other one. Anyway, you get the idea. Scorch, nailed it. And we have no way of knowing how potent those are, because it just says depending on your damage. So sometimes it might be up all of to the maximum with 30 fire pen, 15 crit, something like that. Sometimes it won't be, and sometimes Elemental Equilibrium might stutter over itself. So it's kind of hard to tell what the actual DPS will be, but it's, I think, anywhere from 10 to 15 million. And as you see through some of these clips, it's pretty much as dirty as it gets for what is just melee Elemental Hit, using some Warcry stacking, and nothing insanely outrageous for gear. You'll see it in a second, and some pieces are pretty good and self-crafted, but it's achievable, right, with the right amount of effort, currency. It is, as you may notice, the first time I've ever used a Ferul's Fur in a build as well. They're currently like 6 exalts, and I figure, hey, this may be the opportunity to do it, because my chest needed absolutely nothing specific in it, and that's why I went ahead and pulled the trigger on Ferul's Fur for the first time ever. All it really does is rotate power and frenzy charges for you, and as well as that gives you cat stealth aspect, which I would have rather an aspect of the spider in this build, to be honest, but it's totally fine to do it this way too. And the chest slot is very flexible. Could have done something else if we really wanted to, but like I said, wanted to use that thing for the first time ever. You can see that some of these big ruthless crits, sometimes the big weakness to Elemental Equilibrium, just goes the fuck off. And it is definitely the biggest, chunkiest DPS I've had this league. It's not the greatest thing for map clear though, because there's no real reliable explosions. We don't shatter things, but for the most part we're not dying almost ever anyway. And this is an example of the DPS against the damage reduction start of a Shaper, where usually you can't get through shit there, because he's got a big damage reduction phase for like 10 seconds. And as well as that, managed to just smash my way through a Hall of the Grandmasters, which kind of surprised me, but yeah, with the amount of damage we do, berserking up most of the time, just smash through these waves. Came across a couple of block-based assholes that you have to attack a few times and get lucky crits on, swap in the Ruthless, something like that, and even they're doable as well. Don't even need a block reduction gem, though it would make it a lot easier. So overall, character was an absolute beast. Would be, I'd say, build of the league, but I like the clear on the Beefton better, and the Ignite Trickster as well. And as well as that, it was a bit costly. for what it is, and it didn't play as nice as I would have liked just because it's a little bit fast. But I do want to get into how I built the character and what it takes to make a melee elemental hit work. So here is our character, level 94 at this point. I'm so hard right now. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory. I forgot to check what this was. 21 hours to hit level 94 and do all the content in the game, as well as going up to Delve 600, doing some crafting. It's basically the fastest character I've done this league with the best DPS. The clear isn't amazing, as you could kind of see, but I was doing double beyond maps with Sextants, Delirium, all that, and smashing through it easily. And when I say the clear isn't amazing, I mean it doesn't feel amazing. It is actually pretty damn fast, and we were going through maps extremely quickly, but it doesn't feel amazing because there's no shatter, there's no chunkiness, there's no herald, something like that, which is fixable. You can do certain things in the build to make it that way. You can straight up just not use a Secret of Suffering if you'd really rather. It was honestly kind of hard to tell if it was worth doing, but I think in theory it should be. So I kept it in because I did test it with and without a few times. But the idea behind this is that you cannot ignite, chill, shock, freeze, whatever, but we still get chill and shock coming from skitterbots, which gives us plenty of damage. Flame Golem attached to combustion, just for boss fights, should still ignite as well. We miss out on freeze, but on boss fights we don't have freeze anyway. But we add the fact that we can scorch, brutal, and sap to enemies, which should be good for damage buffs to their respective effects, as well as the less damage taken from the sapped. But on top of that, elemental hit itself gets 10% more damage per elemental ailment, and that does include all of those. So it is potentially an extra 30% more, maybe sometimes at the cost of the ignite and at the cost of the chill during attack, during clear, map clear sort of stuff. But it should in theory be sort of a buff, I think. So that's why we're using it, and it's a new little cluster jewel, so figured it was time to get into one of these. But you can definitely go without it and just actually use the regular elemental hit. But the way elemental hit works is it will rotate through these three elements: added fire, cold, and lightning. It won't ever pick the two same ones in a row. It'll always pick something else. And with elemental equilibrium, it means that you should, in theory, always be making an enemy weak to other resists and then attacking with another element, getting full benefit from that. I think that's how it works, because with this level of attack speed, it sometimes kind of feels like maybe it doesn't rotate fast enough, but I never came across a DPS issue, I guess, so it works. Who knows? We got something like 2 million tooltip fully buffed on elemental hit, and all of the damage from the build is coming from the elemental hit base damage. So you do scale the gem levels a bit, and then just all of the damage is coming from that fire, lightning, and cold, because we've got nothing else coming in from anywhere else. And whenever elemental hit hits with one of those elements, it's only hitting with that element. So if I've got like added fizz, added cold, across my other gear, if I hit with lightning, it's only going to deal lightning, none of that other stuff. So it's important to note that, and that's why we basically only go with the elemental hits base damage. Popular other builds and versions of this is to go Avatar of Fire, convert all the other stuff into fire, but I like the whole Tri-Ele sort of setup. And you can see we've got a pretty nifty use of a Thread of Hope over here, because we swing past all this stuff anyway. So instead of using a jewel socket for something else, we save 4 points, get our elemental equilibrium, and snipe a little precision node as well. Other than that, we've got, you know, pretty basic jewels here, just some decent enough stuff, but it's elemental based to get Prismatic Heart, bit of resist, Corrosive Elements, which should apply exposure to most things just about all of the time, since we have like 15 to 20 attacks a second when buffed up, and Disorienting Display for a bit of blind. Other than that, you do know and love your Warcry jewels. Chances are they're going to get shit on somehow next patch, because with the new Warcry stuff coming out, there's no way this stuff survives, right? And it's pretty damn good. So we've got some Rage, couple of times, so we get 10 rage per hit or per use, and a bit of other stuff as well. Then used a attack-based cluster here just to get martial prowess, basically nothing. Steal the fight, just a bit of mana leech. Do kind of need some somewhere at some point, but not even that necessarily, because Rallying Cry itself basically keeps our mana fairly sustained, as you can see. So if you weave in Rallying Cry every 20 seconds, it's a huge damage buff, and at the same time, it sustains your mana. So our second cluster hardly does anything, as you can see, but there's our tooltip for now, I guess. Shit, didn't even press flasks, but yeah, whatever. It goes up to the millions, and then we hit for millions, and as I showed you, or as I mentioned, our DPS is somewhere from like 7 to 15 mil, I think. It depends on what you hit with, your elemental equilibriums, your ruthless procs, your brittles and scorches and all of that. I really don't want to make a guess at the DPS, but or an accurate guess at the DPS, but you saw it in the clips, and you'll see it at the end of the video. I'll give you an Awakener and an Uber Elder, because they are some of the dirtiest kills I've ever had, and maybe you want to watch some of those. But to go over the rest of the gear after that, we'll just go the links real quick. So it's Elemental Hit, Inspiration, Ancestral Call, Awakened version, multi-strike, early damage attacks, and close combat. I sub in Ruthless over Ancestral Call. The gear, like I said, you don't really need any damage on your weapons or damage from anywhere else thanks to early hit. So we've just got some fast crit multi foils. This one, I think, this one? Yeah, this one I found a while back, and I wanted to do something with it at some point, maybe cast on crit, but this turns out to be a pretty good alternative as well. And then you slap on some LE pen with it. And then this one I bought for like 10C, I think, just some attack speed, crit multi, and a spare prefix to slap on some LE pen as well. Helm, really basic, but berserk buff effect. Boots, same tailwind boots as always, same belt as always, just reduce flask charges because I like to be able to press flasks, things like this twice. Same ring as pretty much always, but we needed spare suffix just to put on a bit of cold resist to triple balance the Wise Oak. Same ring as always, and this one is a little bit different because this I had to craft with an Awakener Orb, so I went with a all cold and an all dexterity, smashed them together, and then tried to metacraft, wipe the suffixes, and exalt on the crit multi. Realistically, it's going to cost you way too much to make something like this, and it's not really that worth doing. You probably can get a similar one with just one of the +1s, and then some crit multi, but we've got a lot of crit multi, so it's not even that important to get that on an amulet, since we get a lot in the build anyway. But you can, instead of getting +1s altogether, just get crit multi and elemental damage to attacks. That's perfectly fine as well. You might want to fill out some accuracy, but I like the +1s because it does benefit our LE hit a little bit, and at the same time, it was fun to awaken a orb and craft an amulet like that. And then, as well as that, Furl's Fur, like I said, first time I ever really used it. Feels pretty good, but I don't think I have to use it ever again. It's just kind of nice. But I like a customized chest for most builds, just a little bit more. And then I grabbed some temple gloves that have a bit of extra crit against shocked enemies. They had accuracy and attack speed, and once again I went in for some meta crafting to wipe the prefixes and then slam a few times till I got something good, but I was trying to get the additional strike from the Hunter mod. Didn't happen, and just left with some pretty good gloves instead. Obviously, they don't have to be this good, and to be fair, I think I'm heavily overcapped on crit if you actually factored Brittle in, which I didn't and can't through Path of Building, as well as knowing how much it actually gives me, because currently I think I'm at like 90 something crit, and that's without Brittle, so I've got way too much crit in the build anyway. Chances are you don't need to min-max the crit anywhere near as much as I did, but it does make things more reliable and quite a bit nicer against boss fights. You can see they've also triple balanced the Wise Oak, so that means that we do triple penetration, triple damage reduction. We keep up endurance charges all of the time, keep up Berserk quite a lot of the time, Rallying Cry every now and again. It's a big damage boost though. And then for our links, we've got Combustion added flame attached to Flame Golem, which I don't know if it does much, how often he actually survives against bosses and gets combustion off, but whatever. We'll pretend we're igniting. We got Blood and Sand, which most of the time I am running for area for a bit of the extra sand stance. Clarity, which just because I have this thing here to make mana a little bit more comfortable, minus mana cost clarity and precision attack speed. So it's just a level 1 clarity. Brutality attached to Ancestral War Chief. Wanted to make sure Ancestral War Chief dealt no other types of elemental damage, so that it doesn't mess with that elemental equilibrium. So that's why I attached Brutality to it, to get rid of the elemental damage. Then got Blood Rage, Summon Skitterbots, and Precision. Like I said, Skitterbots give you Shock and Chill, which benefits your elemental hit. Second Wind, Enduring Cry, Dash, and Rallying Cry down here. And Fortify, Faster Attacks, Leap Slam, and Berserk down here. And then a little jewel here, just a bit of accuracy, life, and cold resist to help triple balance the Wise Oak. Don't know what else to say. I think that's pretty much it. Can you do this as a starter? Probably not. Almost certainly not. Elemental hit leveling was not very comfortable until you have a lot of levels and a lot of the good stuff and you kind of crit. But it can definitely be something that works off of not the highest amount of gear, but I think for something like this to feel really good, you do want 5.5k life and some pretty high tier crit and crit multi, stuff like that. So I wouldn't try and do it on a budget, but look, honestly, Berserker, I think you can just put anything into a Berserker and make it happen, as you saw the double strike, as you've seen with Tectonic Slam and this character. Berserker, especially with the current way Warcries work, is an absolute winner. If nothing really changes in the next patch as far as nerfs are concerned, then Berserkers and Warcries are going to be a match made in heaven once again. But I suspect something like this node, maybe the cooldown recovery will get taken away, maybe it gets revamped altogether, maybe some of the Warcry stuff gets toned down. I suspect something's going to change. Who knows though, we'll have to wait and see. So I'll leave you guys with the Cirrus kill and the Uber Elder kill for this character, which definitely had the biggest DPS I've ever seen for my characters, I think. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Okay, how do we do damage? Bit of Warcry shit. Guilty. I forgot to change my Pantheon to something a little bit different.
You are nothing.
What's this? A real challenge?
Yep.
You've finally caught my attention. Die.
Yeah, I do have this thing on. Okay. Make sure inspiration's up. Gotta make sure everything's up. Inspiration's down. God damn it.
The others found strength in their projections. They became reliant on them. I'm not so foolish.
Yep. And we got to make sure Berserk being popped at the right times. I forgot to do that the first time. Remember that time. I'm gonna try and keep an eye on fucking Flame Golem. See if he ignites.
Really interesting enough.
Dude, this is not a good place to be.
This city.
I need the last phase to not be cancer like that. Why did I even trap myself like this? Storm's being total cunts right now, or what?
Fury of the cosmos.
Dude, Storms look like they're being total pieces of shit. Alright, looks like we're somewhere. That was good. I don't know if I had all the right DPS up. I feel like I didn't war cry onto him when I needed to. But maybe it was fine. I can't fully identify if that was correct. Attack! I am not very lucky with these, man. Through this stuff. Yep, 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 yep. You have the right thing on, yeah? Yep. I've already pushed him over. Damn, that was hot. Is that the first tentacle, dude? If so, my god, that is so much later into the fight than normal. Good shape I go. Oh, there he is. That's a good speed run. Wait, where's Zelda? Why the fuck's he up there? Yay! Avoid Forge. Holy shit, that's a roll. Double corrupt right there.